It's that time again, Our Town Live, where friends, family, people you know share with us their unique bits of wisdom. And now, here's Herb, your host, for another show.
Our guest today is Chris Connor, who has been working within the franchise development industry for the past decade in management positions with several franchise organizations. His specialties are focused around franchise relations, strategic planning, and franchise sales. Franchise Marketing Systems works with franchise organizations to develop sustainable, lasting franchise marketing and franchise sales strategies that recruit and retain qualified franchise owners for his clients. When it comes to sales, Chris feels that you'll learn more by doing than anything else, and most important, take a risk. Let's talk to Chris. What is a franchise?
A franchise is a business relationship where someone who has an idea and a brand lets someone else use their name and their business system for compensation. So you create an idea, you come up with a brand and a way of doing business. Someone else wants to be a business owner, and they in most times they haven't done it before. They haven't been in business for themselves. So to them, there's great value in having the coaching and the support and the guidance of a franchisor who gives them those materials, the brand, and the systems, and the franchisee pays them a fee for that.
Is there a for a new business to franchise?
There's a lot of changes. I mean, when you franchise a business, it's a different business than what you started out doing. So a lot of times someone who owns a restaurant or has a donut shop or a business doing any number of things, when you franchise, you're getting to a different industry. Your customer becomes the franchise owner. So now you're selling the whole business as an investment and not donuts anymore, or food or whatever you might have been doing before. And that takes a bit of a learning curve. You're also sharing your idea and your vision with other people. And that takes a little bit of a learning curve. I found that you have to be comfortable with the idea that other people can do what you do as well or better than you do it if you give them the right tools and the right training and the right support and the right systems. But you do have to have a little bit of that sense of letting go of control. And once you become a franchise, you certainly can't be doing everything with your own two hands. The franchisees will be taking on the operational responsibility, not you any longer. And you have to entrust that they can do a good job at operating the business with what you've given them. The other part of it is just managing relationships.
When you're dealing with business owners, trying to encourage them to franchise their business, do you run into ego problems?
Yeah, we definitely do. And the blessing and the curse of an entrepreneur is their ego. And without having an ego, most entrepreneurs wouldn't be successful. They probably wouldn't have even taken the first step in starting a business. They certainly would not have any kind of a sense of innovation or market disruption. And those are typically the types of people and the types of ideas that make the best franchise models, because they are different. They are powerful. At the same time, when you're dealing with third-party investors that buy a franchise and want to be treated like a business owner and not as an employee, and they're looking for a mutual respect and a business relationship, communication that goes both ways, that has been one of the obstacles that we've run into. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner who's going into franchising, I think one of the key things is to make sure you identify what you're good at, what you're not. And if that's one of those things you have a tough time with, and your ego might be overbearing sometimes, then hire people to work for you and with you who can help manage those relationships and bridge that gap in communicating with a franchisee. Otherwise, it will be it will be a long road. And I've seen that issue turn into fights and just a level of difficulty in keeping franchisees happy and managing positive relationships.
Super. Tell me a little bit about you and your experience in the franchise business.
I am originally from Chicago, Illinois, and grew up in a suburb, Naperville, outside of Chicago, and went to Miami of Ohio for undergrad outside of Cincinnati and Oxford. Came back to Chicago, and as my first couple of jobs, they were more or less meaningless employment just to have a job. I worked for Wilson Sporting Goods in a sales position, and Romano Brothers selling wine and spirits to retailers in Chicago, and just didn't really have any sense of passion or excitement or energy. And then I went to work for a good friend of my grandfather's company, his grandfather in Chicago, that did franchise development work. He had been doing it since the early 70s. He was basically the first person to do this type of work. And as soon as I got into the franchise market, I just found something that I was passionate about. I was excited about it. I love working with entrepreneurs. I love the sense of passion and energy and excitement that you get from working with someone who has it all on the line. And most entrepreneurs do. It was just a complete game changer for me. So I fell in love with the business. I really, really like franchising. I love entrepreneurship. And the two are very tightly aligned. They're almost one and the same in a lot of ways. But working in franchising was my vehicle or conduit to be able to work with entrepreneurs and be able to work with small businesses, and also help other people get into entrepreneurship and small business ownership by buying franchises. So for me, that was kind of the best of both worlds. I finished my MBA at DePaul in early 2000s, and then the recession hit, 2008-9, and basically Franchise Marketing Systems was born out of my basement. And today we've got 27 people on our team. We're based out of Alpharetta, right outside of Atlanta. And we help companies franchise. We help them launch franchise systems. And we also help market and sell franchises as well.
Is this your own business?
It is, yeah.
And what is what is the name again?
It's Franchise Marketing Systems.
And if somebody wanted to talk to you off of this, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can always visit our website, www.fmsfranchise.com, or they could call me directly. My cell phone number is 770-519-3910. And I, like most entrepreneurs, work about 100 hours a week, so you can usually get me on that anytime.
Is this a business more for males or females?
There's definitely no orientation, male or female. And maybe 20 years ago when I got in this business, I think there probably was. I think there were maybe a significant weighted percentage towards males, but in business in general, certainly in entrepreneurship, definitely in franchising, we're seeing more and more female leaders, business owners, franchisors, franchisees. So I don't think there's any bias, male or female, definitely. And the same is true for diversity. We've seen an enormous amount of diversity in franchise ownership, franchise development. It's become it's a great business and a great way for anyone and everyone to scale their vision and their idea.
If I came in to apply for a job with your company, what type of psychological things are you looking for in my personality?
We are a very entrepreneurial company, and I think that's probably the best way to describe the typical persona of everyone in franchise marketing systems. There's not any one characteristic that I would use to describe the group. We've got some people with a lot of franchise industry experience. We've got some people who have very little. We have people that have backgrounds in marketing and strategy, in technology, all different facets of business. But if you did have to sort of pin down one characteristic, it's that they're entrepreneurial, they're self-starters. I am not someone to manage the business with to try to keep control of or tight reins on what everyone is doing day to day or hour to hour. I want everyone to have freedom. I want them to be able to make their own choices and be creative in providing guidance and direction and execution of these franchise programs. And that requires a degree of being a self-starter, being entrepreneurial, and thinking outside of the box. I mean, that's really what we're doing and what the space that we're working in anyways. So I think that's probably it.
I have a listener who's 19, 20 years old, doesn't have a college degree, has an entrepreneurial spirit. What's the best thing for him to do to look for a job in your industry? By that I mean, should he be door knocking? Should he be sending out resumes? What should he or she do?
I think looking back on my own career and just myself and then having interacted with a lot of successful entrepreneurs and business people doing this type of work, the big things that I would say is, number one, education is not the end all be all. And it might be easy for me to say because I did take that route and I had the luxury of being in a position where my family was able to support me. My parents were able to support me. The funny thing about it is I came out of having an MBA in finance. I had undergrad in marketing and management information systems, and I'd meet with an entrepreneur. This one in particular I'm thinking of, he's a Hungarian guy. He lived in the U.S. for about 2 years. He couldn't write the English words very well. His English language was very poor. Had zero education. He dropped out of high school as a junior, and he knew more about business than I did in his pinky finger. He had done it. He had tried businesses. He had taken risks, and I had done none of it. and after I met 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 100 people like this, it became obvious to me that you learn way more by doing than you do by sitting in a classroom and reading a textbook. I am a huge believer that school does have a place. I think there is an opportunity to learn from being in a classroom, but you learn way more by doing, and you learn way more by taking a risk. So many entrepreneurs out there, and certainly you could name off all the big ones, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs of the world. All of them were not necessarily good students. They all took risks. They dropped out of school and jumped into a business. Look for those opportunities first, and then make school fit what benefits you, not the other way around. I think a lot of people go into school and get huge debts and then come out of it and realize they don't have the skill sets they would have if they had started a business. The other thing is learn how to sell. My guess is that if you're thinking entrepreneurial thoughts and have those ideas, you probably can sell. It's just inherent in you, in your abilities and who you are. But if you haven't, go out. I love the knocking on doors comment. For me, it opened up a world